And that represents the story of a warrior who came into my dream times. It was not a hallucination. I was very tired. My children were very young. It's true. But she came out of the Santa Ana Mountains. I had a Diné woman who came up and she was working with us over at Cal State Long Beach where we're restoring our canoe. Here she is. And she told me, she came up to me and she says, that boat was born out of the mountains, wasn't it? And she was right, because the story is that you can see my tattoo in the middle is actually, it's an abalone fishhook, and then there's the Santa Ana Mountains. This is one of our sacred scientist imagery. I'm not going to go through all the slides because I know we're short on time. But you know, like the Tiat tradition, this is a tradition that's thousands of years old. I mean, you know, when we talk about the peopling of the Americas or the peopling of indigenous landscape, the common story is everybody came from the Bering Strait, walked over, thawed out ice cubes, made a right-hand turn at the Chevron station and headed down, you know, completely neglecting a very ancient history of trans-oceanic coastal people coming down in our canoes. That's the way. And I can tell you, am I going to walk or take a boat? I'm going to take a boat. I don't walk that much, and I'm not going to run unless somebody's chasing me. Okay? So just to re-familiarize yourself with the history, this is a timeline of our history as Tongva people, the original people of Los Angeles, Orange County, and the 4 Southern Channel Islands. History begins beyond 10,000 years ago, where with intrusion beginning at 1769, representing the momoy or the manat, the Jimson weed plant, how it flourished from the very beginning, but in intrusion it starts to die out. So our traditional maritime culture was one of those very sacred objects that was removed from the people. Momarahiko came to my dreams. She's the first one that was built in many, many generations, probably about 200 years. Why do we dream these things? Why do they come to us? I don't know. But the dream was that I woke up in the dream time, and my children, all these children's laughter was there. And there was this warrior stuck in the middle of the Santa Ana Mountains, and right here, all this lava was pouring out of what you can call like the third eye. And I'm thinking, you're tired, go back to bed. So I go back into my dream time, go back into my bed. I wake up again. But this time, the lava's still pouring out, the children are there, but in front of the Santa Ana Mountains, I think I have a picture there. No, let's go to that. There's, well, that's his, see, we're modern day. And the children are still playing with the lava, but in front of the mountains, the Santa Ana Mountains, Saddleback Mountains, there's a lake, there's water, and there's these boats. I've never seen these boats. My father was an abalone diver. I grew up on the coast. I grew up in boats, but I had never seen one like this. And the people were all in the boats, and they were paddling, and I could feel the water, and I could feel the wood. And as everybody starts to sing in unison in our language, the warrior opens his eyes, and remember, his body is, this shoulder is part of the mountain, the other shoulder is part of the mountain. He's embedded in this mountain like an ancient warrior. His hair is pulled up over his head. This is what you're seeing. The same way like these old paintings. The same way, the black hair with the chongo on top and with his hair stick inside. He opens his eyes, the mountains part, and we're paddling to Catalina Island, to Pimu. And then I wake up and think, what is this all about? Well, 2 weeks later, this man calls me. He says, hi, my name is Jim Noyes, and I'm interested in maritime culture, indigenous maritime culture. And he had money, and he says, do you know what a tiat is? And I said, no. And he described the boat in my dreams. And he had the funding to help us to recover this tradition that none of us knew. I mean, you have to think that people have been annihilated. We are here in the land of the Gabrielino Tongva people. Indigenous cultures throughout the world have been annihilated in the face of capitalism and this oppression that we call alleged democracy. But we've been successful in rerouting ourselves with that where our power is, and that's the Pacific Ocean. So there's a model of Momarahiko here. And our evidence that these boats actually existed come in the form of what you call archaeological evidence with the soapstone. Soapstone was something that the Kehaulani Island, it's kind of like if you take rocks, with diamond being the hardest, the softest rock is soapstone. And this is a model. We find many, many of these. The evidence is there. And the evidence comes to us in our dream time. So it's been a journey in going through this process because we don't know. The first tiat we built, Momarihiko, she was not made in a traditional form. We used redwood that we obtained, the best redwood, because originally the tiats, the redwood would wash down from trees from Northern California. Those planks were seasoned. These are sewn plank canoes. There's no nails. And the sewn plank canoe tradition is something that exists throughout the Pacific. So we had to learn this. We didn't have the dog bane to make the cordage to sew. So Momarihiko is sewn together with nylon rope. We didn't have the asphaltum or the pine pitch. Be able to use that as the glue that covers up all the holes. We use contemporary materials. And that's a result of the overdevelopment that's happened here. We do not have the luxury of having a tiat house. We don't have the luxury of being able to launch off our coastline here, simply because the LA coastline is completely saturated. When Marcus Lopez comes here, the story of the Tamol and the Chumash is a little bit different. So you can see the mountain there. That's mainly what I wanted you to see. So you can see that this is where the warrior came out of here. And these are very sacred mountains to the people in Orange County. Right now, like I said, there's pictures of the Momarihiko there. She's open for the World Festival of Sacred Music. She has her own life. She has her own life. We have paddled her illegally off the coast of Venice and been chased by Coast Guard, Harbor Patrol, and the lifeguards. In one instance, when we were doing a fundraiser for homeless people, and they wouldn't allow us to launch her because they said, "Well, what is she?" I said, "Tia, what's that?" "I don't know." "Why do you tell us? What is it? What is it?" So they went back to go check and Google it or whatever, and we took off. We took off into the ocean, and they chased us for 12 miles. I was paddling her to the 750-pound canoe with no ballast. There's a close-up of her. And they thought we were going to die. And we didn't die. We successfully went through this. And because you look at the bow of this boat, the way that she's shaped, it's very sharp, like razor sharp. She performs the best in the most rough oceans. And the ballast, since there's no ballast, that was with the soapstone, was used for transportation, that they would use those to transport from the islands to the mainland. And then you build up on their sea otter pelts or whatever. They were transportation boats. So this is the only mode of transportation that existed in pre-contact Southern California. The only mode. Tule boats and this kind of travel. And now today we're able to have the conversations, not secondhand, but firsthand with our brothers and sisters throughout the Pacific. The title of this forum is, they refer to it as Eastern Oceania. And that's because if you look at the islands, the most eastern islands in the Pacific are the Channel Islands. So it's a renegotiation of how we really look at the landscape, how we think of people. And as Dr. Camacho said, people think of Native Americans, you have this imprint in your mind, indigenous people.